Welcome, Franklin Ramirez. Thank you for being my guest today. Franklin is Elgin Township Supervisor.
Yeah.
And a friend that I met recently this year while I was starting out campaigning in the winter. Someone who I'm excited to have a good conversation about getting out the vote and issues on voters' minds. That we did have I had an opportunity to attend a forum in Elgin with the League of Women Voters. And unfortunately, my opponent did not respond. So that fell through. And normally, in normal times, not COVID times, in that event, I would have had an opportunity to give at least a 2-minute introduction. And COVID got in the way and messed that up. So Franklin offered to have a conversation with me so I'd have one more chance to share some information with voters, and I'm very grateful for you joining me. Thank you, Franklin.
Well, hey, I really appreciate it. It is I always like to say fall is my favorite time of year, but when you throw an election in there, it's even better. Nice. So now I am the Elgin Township Supervisor, and for those of you that have your bingo card at home, so Elgin Township is 6 miles by 6 miles, and Martha Paschke's 65th House District would take up like almost 50% of Elgin Township. So you're a big player, will be a big player in Elgin Township. But yeah, I'm so lucky to be here. You and I share a couple things in common, but we'll start with the fun one first. So I was like, Paschke. I know that name, and it's not it's not like Smith,
right? So, not very common.
I'm like, I know one other Paschke. So I remember messaging you saying, hey, do you know, it's like Ramirez. Do you know, Michael Ramirez? No, I don't know who Michael Ramirez is. But I'm like, do you know who Tim Paschke is? And you're like, yeah, he's my brother-in-law. And I was like, no kidding. Small world. So Tim and I used to swim together at Maine South in Park Ridge. He was a senior and I was a freshman, both on varsity. And it's so funny. What a small world, I'm telling you. So when you say
hi to my brother-in-law. Yep.
Yeah. When you say hi to him, or when you see him next, tell him I said hi.
Will do.
And I think about him, every so often, and I hope he's well. But the other thing that you and I share in common is we brought it up. You just brought it up. The League of Women Voters. So when I ran for Elgin Township Supervisor, my opponent never showed up either.
Oh.
And so I had just the 2 minutes because we were in non-COVID times then. So I just had 2 minutes to give my pitch to the people, if you will. And I was like, you know what? That's not fair. I want to have a conversation with people. So I did a Facebook Live for 30 minutes. And I think we had like 9,000 views or something staggeringly crazy. But no, it wasn't this. It was just me talking, and which could be a good or bad thing depending on who you ask. But no, I'm really excited to talk about this. So I have a podcast with a good friend of mine, Rich Jacobs, and it is Frankly Speaking, Rich Conversations Around Politics. And what we do, it's fun. It's an educational podcast just to get people invited into democracy. I like to say, I don't give out state secrets, but we invite you to understand why someone knocks on your door and they're not knocking on your neighbors, or vice versa. And so I love these opportunities to talk with others who are just as nerdy as me, when it comes to politics. But getting out the vote, extremely important. And we have just a number of ways to do it now. And so for those of you that are watching or will be watching this, mail-in ballots, those are kind of new this year in terms of where do you mail them? When do you mail them? Can I mail them? Drop boxes are new. There's 3 in King County, but you can early vote at the township we're a permanent early voting location. So starting October 19th, 8:30 in the morning till 7, Monday through Friday, and then the weekends are what, 9 to 5, 9 to 6. But
at the township office, the weekends are 9 to 5.
9 to 5. But I tell people, and I think you have it, you're referencing it there, kanecountyclerk.org/elections. Look at your sample ballot, look at your polling location, look at the early voting locations. So we've got early voting, mail-in, and day of voting. So, but super important. It's I mean, this is your obligation as a citizen.
Right. Yep. So I know a lot of people requested vote by mail ballots, and people that I'm talking to are frequently asking questions about, well, I got my vote by mail ballot, but I decided I want to vote in person. Or my whole family has vote by mail ballots. Can I just drop them all off? So there's still a lot of questions out there. And I know we shared a graphic a while back, and it was reshared frequently because it was information everybody was looking for. So if you're looking for those answers, we will share that graphic again. But just to go over a couple of those, and Franklin, I don't know if you've got all the facts at your fingertips there. I'll go through the ones I've got and see what you can fill in for us.
We'll fill in the blank like Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So the ballot drop box locations. They're in the 65th district. We've got the Kane County Government Building in Geneva. And I know, people sometimes get confused between the courthouse that's on 3rd Street and the government building that's at the end of 3rd Street when you cross over 31. So it's at the government building at the end of 3rd Street is one drop box. And these drop boxes are inside the building, so you have to go during voting hours if you want to drop off. So that's one in the 65th district. And the other one is actually just outside the 65th district. The Elgin drop box is in the Elgin City building. And the address of that, it's on Dexter. And
I was like, I'm not an address guy. It's basically next door to the post office in downtown Elgin. You know what? The people in Elgin are very friendly. So if you say, hey, do you know where City Hall is? They will point you where it is. It's across the street from the police department. So it's easy. Funny story. So I had a ballot be sent to the township.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like John Doe at 729 South McLean Boulevard. And I was like, I called up the election authority and I said, no one lives here. This is the town. Yeah. So I went to City Hall and I took the ballot and I put it back into the drop box. So they can reach out to that voter and say, hey, we need to either send you to a new address or what, but super convenient. I mean, I hate that they're inside because you're limited by the hours that the building's open.
Right.
But at least it's an opportunity. Again, this is the first time I think Kane County, you can go to a drop box and drop off your ballot. So
and it's really easy to do. I know I saw a couple people do it while I was in line to vote early. They were able to say they were just dropping off their ballot and cut to the front of the line and do the drop off. But one thing that people should know is if you want to drop off someone else's ballot, you actually have to have that affidavit signed. So you can't just drop off anybody's ballot. You have to have the signed affidavit allowing you to be the person to handle their ballot. So there are protections in place.
Yeah, no. I mean, if I arrived at the county building with 10 ballots in my hand, they might be suspect. Yeah. But, when it comes to mail-in ballots, though, too, you can drop it off. But if you change your mind, you want to keep your ballot. Don't throw it away. Don't frame it because Martha's name's on it or anything like that. You're going to bring it to the election, either the early voting location, day of voting, the county building, and they're going to take it from you mark an line through it. You're going to sign that you've surrendered it, and then you will vote regularly. And I say regularly because if you do decide to do anything else with your ballot, they will give you a provisional ballot.
And you don't want that.
No, because provisional ballots are not counted until everything's over and if they're needed.
Right, because they have to make sure you didn't try to vote twice.
Exactly.
It's a provisional ballot, and if that is your only option, then you should still vote, but you don't want to do that.
No.
Avoid it if you can, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm really excited and nervous all at the same time for early voting.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we reference this COVID times that we live in at the moment. And early voting comes to the township, like I said, next Monday. And we expect lines and lines and lines. I mean, 4 years ago, it was the largest turnout for early voting at the township. I mean, we're talking hundreds of people a day, which is exciting because when I look at voter turnout and you only see, 10% in municipal races or 75% in national, I'm just like, this is your opportunity, early vote. Vote of, mail in your ballot. I mean, it's just in Illinois, we have it's very nice here because we don't have to give a reason why we want a mail in ballot. I mean, who is it? I like to joke around, or my friend likes to joke around and say, I get to vote naked. And I'm like,
I saw an email from an organization that was encouraging voters and saying, vote from the comfort of your home. Vote naked.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
don't walk to your mailbox naked, though.
Yeah, don't walk to your mailbox naked. That's probably not preferred by most people.
No.
But you can't stress it enough that voting is your opportunity to make your voice heard. I know we have, now it's presidential election time, so we're talking about electoral college and all this other stuff. And, I think that's a conversation for another day. But your voice gets to be heard, one person, one vote for every office with the exception of president. So when we talk about senators, I know Illinois has Dick Durbin's up. When we talk about Illinois House members, legislature, township supervisors in spring, I mean, all of these votes are direct from you to them. So don't worry about the electoral college at the moment, but we want to sit there and say, you want your voice to be heard. You want to get out there. I get 2 stickers when I go.
What?
Early vote. I do. I have to go. I'd like to take 2. I put one on the day that I vote, and then on November 3rd, I put another one on.
Nice. So actually, when I was teaching 7th grade social studies and we were doing our election unit, I went to the county clerk's office and asked for a roll of the I voted stickers because we held mock elections, and then my kids got stickers when they voted.
I hope they didn't give you a hard time when you asked for them either. You're like,
well, they are, and they weren't sure they had any extra, but I really appreciated the person that took the time and went and looked for them. I actually still have a little bit of the roll left, but yes, those stickers are precious, for sure.
Yeah, no, and to a 7th grader, okay, they don't know what's going on. They hear Donald Trump, they hear Joe Biden. If you say, "Hey, I'm running for office," they're going to be like, "What are you talking about?" But to get them used to this, important. I like to say, the winner of Dancing with the Stars may be very important as well. But it's not as important as who represents you in Springfield, or who your mayor is, or who your village president is. So those people affect your lives and your neighbors' lives day in and day out. Whether Tiger King or what's that lady's name? who murdered her
Oh,
husband.
yeah, Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin. Ah, yeah.
Carol Baskin.
If she wins Dancing with the Stars, good for her. You know what? It won't affect my life at all.
Yeah.
What a show. Either way, no, I'm super excited to vote. You know, I try to do it. I remind people. Annoyingly, I remind people that they need to get out and vote.
I'm gonna try and put a light there.
Yeah, no, you have to.
Shining on in my face.
There you
That's
go.
better.
But when we're talking about getting out to vote, and
Yes.
this must be the end. This is the culmination of a very hard, long campaign, which it feels good, you know, but at the same time, the light is at the end of the tunnel. 19 days.
19 days. Yeah.
I've ran a couple races in my life, and
Okay.
I'm super excited. So let's just say November 3rd, if I was running today, I would be like, it's over. You know, and then I've lost one race when I ran for city council in Park Ridge.
Okay.
And then I won, obviously, my last race. But I'm telling you, it is it's like watching the Super Bowl with 3 seconds left and it's tied, and it's a field goal.
I bet.
You have, it's, I want to explain how it feels for the people that don't necessarily run for office, you know, and so that's why I want you to vote. But Martha, let's change it up a bit. Why? Okay. So, what are the topics that you're hearing that really gets people out there? And it's not just Republicans versus Democrats. I mean, it's people are motivated by certain things. So, what do you hear in the 65th district?
So last week, I'm going to change it just a little bit. Last week, I got to meet with some Girl Scouts, and I wanted to hear from them because I hear from voters all day, and I'll share what they tell me as well. But I thought it was interesting to hear what was important to the Girl Scouts when I asked them what issues mattered the most to them. And they unanimously, each one of them got to share, and each of them said, oh yeah, what she said, that's definitely, you know, we all agree on this. And it was environment, and it was social justice, and animals, and animal cruelty kind of went with the environment, taking care of nature and people, was the most important to these kids. So I thought that was telling about our future. And as I was excited to meet with those future leaders and see that they're paying attention and they see, you know, what's important in the world. But I would say, you know, on the whole, when I'm talking to voters, I hear a lot of different issues that are driving people out there. Right now, people are so overwhelmed with everything going on with COVID, with e-learning, with, you know, we've thrown, you know, we've been thrown so many curveballs this year. So people are really overwhelmed. And I think a lot of people are headed out to the polls with that sense of being overwhelmed and with a desire for change and just for more positive things going forward, whether, you know, whichever side they're on, you know, they are getting out there because they want to see things get better. And I think a lot of people, so many people that I talk to have said that they just want to see an end to all this divisiveness and the fighting and the mudslinging. And I hear them. I do.
No, I'm totally with you. And I like to say politics doesn't have to be dirty. You know, I was watching the news today and they say there's 2 ways to run a race: a referendum on someone, okay, or a choice between 2 people. You know, and we've seen it. You know, I mean, if you look at the national level, you know, I think it's a referendum on whether or not the current president is a good one or not. You know, and it's but it's when we run the races that it's a choice, like clear distinctions between them and me, okay, or you in this instance. That gives voters a sense of, okay, it's you know, I like this one over this one. You know, and when you just sit there and just sling mud, you know, and I say you in the general sense, not Martha, so please forgive me, everyone. But when people just sling mud, that's why the voter turnout is so low. That's why people are turned off by it.
Oh yeah.
They don't watch the news. They sit there and say, "Ugh, I don't like politics."
Yeah.
You know? I tell people all the time, politics is something you should be talking about. You know, we talked about earlier, you know, Dancing with the Stars versus elections. You know, they talk about who won Survivor more than they talk about who they want to vote for and why.
Yeah.
And that's what breaks my heart. And if I could change the needle on that between now and forever, you know, I would feel as it's a win. But,
I do. I hear, especially from young people, which really makes me sad that they're not going to vote because they're so upset with everything, and they disagree with all the candidates, and politicians have never done anything good for them, so they're just not going to vote. And it's really heartbreaking. And I actually had a couple of conversations that took a more positive turn when I asked if they had ever attended their city council meetings or looked into the work being done by their library board, or, you know, and pointed them in the direction of local politics. And I said, you know, if you're frustrated, I get it. And a lot of times, you know, we focus on the frustrations at the national level and forget that so much happens right next door.
Totally.
And I think it's really important for young people and people in general who are frustrated with the state of things to get out there and get involved. You know, maybe not run for city council right away, but attend some meetings, or at least sign up to get the agendas and find out what's being discussed, what's being talked about.
I like to boil things down in ways that people understand it. You know, like, so when they ask, "What do I do?" I first ask, "Are you familiar with business?" You know, they're like, "Yes." You know, like, duh. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm the CEO and chairman of the board of a small government. And they're like, oh, wow. You know?
Yeah.
But I like to give this analogy to people about just voting, you know, like the whole thing. And if you can think of going to a music, let's just say Wicked, right? That's the first thing. Or Dear Evan Hansen, very good musical.
Okay.
I said, there's people, the actors on the stage, okay? Now, if you can separate that they're actors, right? But they're out there in front of the lights, you know, doing what they need to do. They're the politicians. They're the elected officials, okay? They're on the front stage, okay? Behind the scenes are those that are really involved in the process. Your campaign managers, your consultants, your volunteers, the people who phone bank. Okay, they want to make sure that this thing goes off without a hitch. And then you get the people that are sitting in the seats. You know, and in this analogy, they paid with their vote. They want to see the play. They want to see what's going on. You know, and then they paid with their vote. They appreciate it. Okay. Then the other two are the, you know, one, for lack of a better phrase, you know, but those walking on the street who have no clue what's going on inside that building, they're the ones that are apathetic to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know about politics. I don't want to talk about politics. Like, come on in. The water's nice. You know, you're going to like some of these songs you hear. Maybe not all of them, but you'll like them. Okay. Some actors are better than others. And then there are the ones that fund, you know, that I like to call them angel investors, if you will. I know on the Republican side, the Koch brothers are pretty familiar. Angel investors, you know. So they may be, depends on what persuasion you are, a good thing or a bad thing. Okay. But I tell people there should be more money in politics, and don't take this out of context. Okay.
Okay.
If you support a candidate you like, okay, if you support Martha Paschke, $5 goes a long way. $10 goes a long way. I don't want you to mortgage your house to give to Martha Paschke's campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I want you to eat. I need you to survive, right? But I want you to not only vote, because that's the best currency.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to sit there and help her reach other people. Okay, so for those of you listening, if you have $5, okay, it does help a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You might think, ugh, Joe Biden has $420 million in his campaign. Okay, what's my $5 going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, in a local race, $5 is a lot.
Yep.
So
Stamps, it's phone calls, it's postcards.
So Bernie Sanders did it really well. Okay, I think who was it? His average donation was like $5 or something like that.
Yeah.
But you get a lot of people invested. Again, if I give you money, I'm invested. I want to see you do good. I want to see you win.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't know. I tell people, give as much as you can to the ones that you support.
Mm-hmm.
Now the sun's creeping on my face.
It's bright today. Yeah. So that is one thing that I've been incredibly proud of with my campaign, is that I have had a pretty significant number of individual donors giving what they can. And it really does make a huge difference in a campaign. And I did used to be one of those people who said, oh, money and politics, it's so, but now I see where it's going, and I see, the good people, getting paid to do the hard work, and, the outreach we're able to do to reach voters. And it does make an impact. I mean, when I talk to someone on the phone who received a postcard, that somebody donated their time to write and donated their money to buy the stamps. And it really makes a difference to those voters to see that level of support from other people. It helps.
That's completely true. And I tell people all the time, pick up the phone, talk to someone who's calling you. It doesn't need to be a half an hour conversation. Quite honestly, when I walk door to door, it's a very short conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to introduce myself, but I want you to invest some time.
Mm-hmm.
Go to my website. I like to joke and say, knock on my door. I'm okay with that. So come on over, give me a call, shoot me an email. I want to have a conversation with you because I think this is important.
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm doing phone calls. I'm calling voters. And I always say, give me a call back. A lot of people will say, well, I haven't heard of you yet. And they just, want my website, and I'll share that. And I say, but, after you've looked at it, give me a call if you have questions, because those conversations are important to me. I think that they're, it's one of the reasons I'm running. I didn't see it in my opponent. The outreach into the community to find out what matters to people and what's going on in people's lives. I think that's really important. And so it's something that I've, continued to tell people, let me know, talk to me, give me a call.
And just to piggyback on top of that, because when you win on November 3rd, right, people should call you no matter what and voice their opinions, voice their concerns, because even though we live in a representational democracy, they're voting for you to go to Springfield to represent them. Right? You want their opinions, you want their voices, because you want to take their voices and get and share them. So I tell people all the time, it just doesn't stop on November 3rd.
No.
Okay, I want you to be a little bit invested. Okay, I want you to understand. I need you to understand, because if we want this country to change, good, I need you to be invested. Now, I don't need you to go down to Springfield every time they're in session, because Martha will be there for you. But I need you to say, hey, how's it going? What's going on? So it's, it doesn't end. Even though we're talking about getting out the vote today, for the next 19 days, it's very much, it's just beginning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's critical to stay engaged, and I can understand that it gets overwhelming, but there are a lot of tools that I've found to be helpful to stay engaged without being too overwhelmed by it all.
Yeah.
There are apps that can send you a heads up when there's a bill up for a vote. So you can let your congressperson, your representative know what you think about it.
Yeah.
And that, there are different organizations that you can sign up to get that kind of information and keep abreast of what's happening, even locally. Like I said, getting those agendas so that you're not coming in last second to a city council meeting and saying, "No, I never knew this was happening. Why are you doing this?"
Yeah.
It helps to stay on top of things and find whatever avenues you can to find that information and know what's going on.
Or just talk with your neighbors. I mean, I know here in Elgin, there's the Elgin Township Democrats that meet once a month. With that being said, there's the Elgin Township Republicans that meet once a month. And these people are in your corner. Okay. If you're in the middle, go to both. Test the waters, see what you believe in, ask questions. I always say it's never dumb asking a question.
No.
Because you need to learn every day. And so, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
And I promise that if you show up at one of those meetings as a new person, they will be very excited to see you there.
Very.
And you can ask anything and they will love it.
Yeah. No, and it's a way to just sharpen yourself. I mean, I like to tell, what is a Democrat? And okay, I say, if you're a Democrat, awesome. Okay, if you can define it, perfect. If you can define a Republican, even better. Okay? Because those people have strength of their convictions because of what they believe in, not what sounds best or who has hair and who doesn't. So, but it's I'm really excited. I really appreciate everybody who runs for office. Because it's those are real leaders, of communities, because they want to step up. They want to sit there and take the torch, if you will, and pass it on and continue this great experiment that we're in. But,
yeah, I see it as a continuation of that same participation. You go to those meetings, participate, listen, see what's going on, and find out there's a spot open that needs someone to run, and jump in, give it a try.
No, I'm with you, and you and I could talk about this forever. But the last thing, one of the last things I want to say, I remind everybody that's watching, is that I know taxes are too high. The taxes are, you look at your bill, your property tax, and you're just like, oh, this is a lot of money. Okay. But really peel that onion further. I tell people, my property tax bill, based on my home and all that stuff, I pay about $50 to the township that I'm in. Okay. $50, divide that by 365. If my math is right, it's like 13 cents. Okay? So for 13 cents a day, my government provides roads to unincorporated areas, general assistance to the neediest of the people in our community, emergency assistance to those that are falling on bad times, on top of salaries, pensions, healthcare for the ones that are working the government. And I said it's a 13 cents. Divide. Go to the schools, go to the cities. I like to tell people. I mean, I don't have any kids, but I'm happy to pay the tax to the school district if they're doing it wisely. Now that's always up for debate.
Yeah.
But we live in a community. This is a we society.
Right.
If it's a me society, it gets a little wonky. Okay. But I tell people, I said, I appreciate looking at that dollar, making it stretch, doing what we can, because we all do it at home. Okay? I just don't spend, I don't have gold toilets like some elected officials in DC.
Nor do I.
It's you have to be prudent, but you have to be responsible as well. And that's not just for today; it's for tomorrow's the Girl Scouts that you were talking to,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to inherit this. So
Yep.
what are we doing today to make sure that what they have is best?
Yeah, and I
Love this stuff.
always talk about it as being both compassionate and responsible. The state is, the recipient of people's hard-earned money, and people have every right to expect that that's spent carefully and well, and also compassionately, in the interests of developing strong communities. And that is very important to me, that we do that. And I think that there always is misinformation out there. There's always scare tactics to make people believe, Illinois is the worst place to live because we are taxed so heavily. And I, it's hard because I understand the burden, that property tax bill is no joke.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It is no joke.
Yeah.
But, like you said, when you you step back and you look at the full picture of it all, or you step in and peel that onion, either way, you look at the complete picture of that money and how it's being spent and where it's going. And I've spent, the better part of the last year taking a very deep dive into that so that I have a decent understanding and can do a good job of handling people's money with responsibility and compassion.
Yeah.
Making sure that it's spent well. And I think that, ultimately in Illinois, we have a lot going for us, and especially in the 65th district, we actually have a growing population. People want to move to our communities. So we have a lot of good here. And I'm excited to hopefully get to represent the district and keep a lot of that good going and make it even better for people.
I'm excited for you as well. I can't wait to November 3rd. We're going to have a party because it's over, but we're going to even party hard because you win. It is like I said, fall's an amazing season. Add on an election, we're all good. But no, I'm rooting for you. I'm really glad that we had this conversation because, when people get to see you and they get to understand that you're just their next door neighbor who wants to go drive 3 hours, twice a week, for like 4 months to have discussions that affect them, they appreciate it too. So so I really appreciate you having me here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate the conversation. This was fun. And I just want to reiterate that, get out there and vote. If you got your mail-in ballot, you can research the candidates as you fill it out. You have the option of mailing it or taking it to a drop box, like we talked about earlier. And if you choose to vote in person instead, take it with you. You can vote in person early already at the Kane County Government Center in Geneva. And like Franklin said, on the 19th, all those other locations are going to open up across Kane County and in the 65th district. You can vote at any of those locations within your own county, but get out there and vote. And one of the benefits that a lot of people don't know about is once you voted, you get taken off of our contact list and we stop calling you.
That's so true. You could be hassle-free for 2 weeks when you vote on the 19th.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get out there, vote, research those candidates all the way down your ballot. Do the work.
Churches are important, so from up and down. But it is I think George Carlin said, if you don't vote, you can't complain. Everybody will complain no matter what. But get out there and vote. So
if you vote, you got the right.
There you go.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Martha.
All right. Take care.